information about the traditions in Norway, and actually I could say Nordic traditions because Sweden is also very similar. We have some baskets from Jared here. We sent a parcel with some baskets that didn't arrive yet, so we're hoping for it to come before we leave. We'll see. But these are mostly Swedish baskets, right? But it's not difficult to talk about them in the Norwegian tradition. It's a lot of the same materials and the same techniques. So. But first, a little bit about us. In Norway, we have an apprenticeship. What did you call it? Apprenticeship program for basketry. So we are 6 people in Norway having the title of basket maker from this apprenticeship program. So I'm one of them, but the other ones are mostly working with stake and strand, and what you can say, I don't know, Stan calls it the Roman traditions of basket making. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but that's what Stan says. But I was so lucky to meet Samson at one point after I did my apprenticeship. I worked with Samson with some traditional local baskets, and that led to a lot of different projects with the Norwegian Crafts Institute, who collects knowledge and trying to spread knowledge and preserve the knowledge. So after doing some projects with reviving some baskets that no longer made, I received a 3-year fellowship. What I found the translation. I don't know if it makes sense, but yeah. So I was researching these traditions for 3 years, and that was really, that made it possible for me to really dig into how to make them and what had they been making, and which materials, and trying to find all the different, all the traditional keepers that still knew and still could teach me. And now I'm so lucky to have a 2-year grant from the Norwegian Art Council for continuing that work, so I'm very happy about that. But I do go teaching around a lot, and that's one of the most interesting things about this, because all the students and meeting so many people, there's so many different links to different baskets. So it's always the most interesting thing is to teach, because we learn so much about different things. And Samson, he was my teacher in the beginning, and the traditional keeper of making the kjipe, the backpack that we are going to teach at North House next week. And that is the traditional basket of the Western country. I will show you some pictures of that later. But he has never been a full-time basket maker, but making baskets for a long time, and doing a lot of different woodwork, and splitting mostly juniper before we started cooperating. Do you have anything to add?
I can speak very little English, so try to help in the process with
practical.
Yeah, practical. Yeah. And I understand a little bit, but better if you can speak Norwegian.
Yeah, but he, during the class, the the practical thing, the showing and the hands. That's the most important thing. So it's very good to have something like this. So we live sort of inside that red circle in the west part of Norway. Just to show a bit. This is my little village where I live. It's called Fikse, and you see that it's quite steep, and you can't. In this picture, you can't really see it, but the glacier is over there on the other side of the fjord. But it has a lot of deciduous forest. That's the main forest in this area. So hazel mostly, and a bit of juniper, but juniper is better in Samson's area, which is 3 hours a little bit south on the other side of the fjord. That's the main juniper area. So for this area there's elm and hazel and willow and lime and different these. And there's a little bit of spruce, but that is planted, so it's not really old and not really so much usable for baskets. So in my research project I focused really on wicker baskets, also weaving baskets, and mainly with split material, because that's what you find in museums. Those baskets are what we find around in the museums. So, and I wanted in these years to sort of get an overview of what has been made and what materials did they use, and to learn as much as possible about this. This guy that you see in the picture, we were sadly never met him because he died in the 90s. But the Nordic Craft Institute did some projects in the 90s where they filmed and took a lot of pictures and did documentation about the basketry. And this guy was one of the basket makers that they documented. And he's, I think, maybe 82 years on this picture, and he makes the splints from the most wonky wild willow in 800 meters above sea level in the mountains in Norway. And he splits, he just put the willow in the corner and then puts the knife and just, it's, in this video it's so crazy to see. He makes the base, and then he stands on the base and weaves from the inside of the first 10 centimeters of the basket. And these baskets are really big baskets to carry hay for the animals. So it's quite huge baskets. But he was, I wish I would have met this guy. He was really amazing. So the project was a lot about collecting materials, looking at old baskets, and learning from traditional keepers. This guy with the axe at the end, he's Jon Godal. He is one of the people that knows really a lot about trees and harvesting the big logs of spruce in Norway. So we learned a lot from him. I just to give a little context. So being a basket maker in Norway did not concern the different materials harvested from the wild. Usually it was not a guild in Norway, but they had guilds in the rest of Europe about this. But in Norway, a professional basket maker in the 1920s, it would be about willow and what is it called? Hectic. The Asian material that's reed. Reed, yes. Thank you. and mostly imported materials, and the workshops would be in cities. So the rural handcrafts is totally another story. A basket maker in the 1920s would not call any of those baskets. It would be something totally different, made in the rural crafts, which is just to give sort of a context, and that is why a lot of these basket traditions are dying, because people didn't really, when easier things came, they used the buckets and the other things, and they stopped making those baskets. And it was working tools. It was not really a craft that was highly valued in anything. It was working tools, and they used the nature with such complex knowledge about the nature and the splitting and everything, but when they didn't need it anymore, they just burnt it or threw it into the corners of the barns and didn't think about it. So it hasn't been. I'll talk about one little part of it that has been really valued, which is the coiling with birch roots, which was like the silvery of the basketry, but the rest, and my main interest is about the working tool baskets, because they have not really been valued in that way. And there's such a complex knowledge about how to harvest and how to run the forests and how to treat the landscape to get the materials that we wanted. So there's really a great diversity of materials and techniques, but mostly it has to do with splitting. And for me it feels quite natural, because if you go into the forest you don't find 172 sticks that are same thickness and same length. It's impossible, and it's wonky and it's too thick, and so you have to prepare it in some way to be able to read it. So that's where the splitting comes in. And for most of the materials, it is about splitting. So there's three main techniques, which you see how they make baskets in different parts of Norway. So there's the frame baskets, and there's the wooden base baskets, and there's the woven wave base baskets. And within the baskets with the woven base, I don't know how you call that, if you would call it maybe the, I forgot, what do you call the birch bark or the pine splint baskets? Is it plated? Yes. Thank you. So the woven base, in my head, that's also including the plated baskets, because it's woven in the same way, even if it's a little bit different than what we are making these days with Vedmeis. It's usually the same technique. You start with the base, and the base makes the uprights. So this is the basket that this old man in the picture, he actually changed his shoes before standing on the base. I should have done that, because this base is really dirty. But and as I said, it also includes the plated baskets, which is birch bark and pine spoon. What do you call
Splint.
Splint.
Pine splint.
Pine splint. So it has different varieties of those baskets, old ones. In Norway, these were most common in eastern Norway. There are two main valleys. You have a lot of mountains, and then you have two main valleys that goes sort of from Oslo and north towards Trondheim, and then there's Sweden. So these two valleys, they contain those kind of baskets. obviously, with varieties up in the valleys. And they look really a lot the same as many of the Swedish baskets. You can really get some baskets. Ta den där strucken och det är nice. We have to hold some baskets. Yeah, to show it. This is a really nice old Swedish basket. It's called Käppegård. And originally this was a käppe is a certain amount, like a kilo or yeah, it was a measurement. And at one point it would be a certain measurement on these baskets, but they have been made in so many different varieties. But this is the Swedish variety, and this is sort of the Norwegian variety. They are quite familiar and quite. And I've seen these types with two handles like this, so it's sort of related, these two baskets. But they both start with the base, and like in the picture, so you bend these uprights, and it all has to be fresh material to be able to work with wet. And this is another basket which is Swedish, and this is a little bit special. It's made with the same material, but in this case you start with the rim, and you tie the rim first, and then you weave and end with the base. And that's really quite unusual for baskets. As far as I know, there's one in Ireland, the creel, and I don't know if there's a Spanish or Portuguese one where you start with the, or you put the stakes and then you weave the base at the end. I don't know if there are any more baskets that are made in that way. It's quite special. But you can see there's different edges. This is the most time-consuming edge. It's very, very tight woven, but with splints from willow. And it could be hazel. I think maybe this is hazel. This is also willow, but you can use both. But one of these people in the projects from the Nordic Craft Institute, he said that splitting willow, you can split as thin as paper. And it's really quite amazing. You can split so you can turn it around your fingers without problem. It's quite amazing. So these ones are mostly eastern Norway and Sweden. It's the area where they are spread. And then we have the baskets with the wooden base. And these on the picture, these are varieties from Samson's district and Samson's design. Many of them. The round one is made for the flatbread. There's a lot of people making flatbread, and this is perfect for storing it. In the old days, you used to make flatbread for the whole year, so you had to really store it properly. And different backpacks and wooden baskets. But they all have, in different sizes and with handles and without handles and with carriers, and they all have a wooden base and uprights, and they are all dry, but the weavers are fresh and split material. It could be hazel, it could be juniper, it could be bird cherry, it could be a lot of different things. It could also be pine shavings in many cases, or split, hand split pines. You will also see that. And roots. One of these, I think actually, this one is made with roots, and that is quite huge. It's really a big job.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you know when this style with the board bottom originates in Europe or Norway?
it's difficult to say. In Germany, they also call it juniper, and it's the same thing. Switzerland and Italy, we find it. A lot of different places. Switzerland and Italy and south of Germany, they often have the wooden base is very small, and the basket is
Right.
very big. So it's a different shape, but it's the same technique. Anyway, yeah. It's been there for a long time, I guess. And it has developed in a lot of different ways. Like this one, you have the metal string as uprights. It's easy, and you have that. And it probably lasts quite long. And you know, the metal string as edging is really common from the 50s, 60s and up, instead of birch roots or spruce roots, which is so much work to harvest. So, and this one with 2 rooms is very common for wood. You have, as you are carding, yes, thank you. You have the uncarded and you have the finished carded in 2 different rooms. So the backpack is safely placed in the parcel, which we don't know where it is. We have some really nice Swedish baskets with wooden base. This one you made, yeah? And this is with willow here, yeah? Which is, we see a lot of different varieties of these kind of baskets. Locally, not far from me, I found one of these baskets which were actually looking a bit like the Swiss, really very a small base and a big basket, and it had round sticks, but it has twisted in the end and just put the stake down in the next hole. So a different kind of ending. And this is the Hege Iren Aasdal from Sweden. And this is made with spruce, very, very nice pine. I always mix up this, thank you. Pine, very thin split, maybe 1 year growth, this one. And seeing this guy splitting those is just like, it's quite amazing. But this is he usually puts the pine in water for 3 months at least, so it's quite fermented before he splits it.
Is it the red pine? It's similar to Scotch pine. Our red pine is close. Our red pine will work.
He has tried. He has some samples downstairs. So that's the base. The wooden base baskets, and they are mostly common in Western Norway, on the coast. And then we have the frame baskets that doesn't really have a specific area where they are mostly common, but you find them here and there. And a lot of places you find them connecting industry like iron industry, big baskets for shoveling coal or things like that. Very light. Like this basket is a very small basket. It's from the Røros area, from the mountains, and in this area there was a lot of coal mining and iron industry, so they made these big ones. They also use them in the mountains for harvesting the moss for animals. They used to harvest that as winter food for animals. So these ones are made with willow, and that's actually some kind of buff, but it's wild willow, but they boil it with the bark on, and it becomes this color. And this is probably hazel. It's from more south and it's a variety with a handle. They often came with handles more like this, but yeah, and they made them in all kinds of shapes. This is another one which is a little bit special. I've only found it in northwest of Norway, and it's made with birch roots, split birch roots, and some of them are. I have a picture here. Yeah, this is birch roots. Actually, you can touch it and see. But this is coiling technique. I will show some pictures of that later. But these baskets are normal frame baskets, really traditional ones, but they are made with birch roots, and some of them are so tight. As this one is maybe this big, and the tightest one has 45 ribs on each side. It's so you can't really get your finger in between the ribs. It's really, but the good thing about the roots is that it's very soft, so you can really weave it very tight, and they were used for special occasions. It's an enormous amount of work to harvest the roots and then to weave these big ones so tight. It's amazing. It's in the same category as the birch root coiling. But they were also, the same baskets were also made in really rough with thick roots, and more like a working basket. Same technique and same material, only rough varieties. And then we have the knutekål, which we have a local example, I think. Yeah?
It's from Duluth.
From Duluth.
Yeah.
This is really cool. This has traveled, maybe, when do you think it traveled? The knowledge traveled in the
1800s, I guess.
hundreds somewhere,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's exactly the same as has been made in most of Norway, at least southern Norway, west and mid. Telemark has a lot of these, and my area has a lot of these. Genius technique with 4 sticks put together. Jared will talk more about it next week. Or,
Yeah, next week, yeah.
I have some pictures of different types here. A lot of them are painted in Norway, and some of them don't even have weaving. They're just wood, but you see the knots. The corners are made in the same way, and a lot of them has guns, and some of them are painted really nicely. These are all from Telemark, different varieties, and I think this and this is from Hardanger in my area, and this other one is from Telemark.
Are all the Norwegian ones square?
Almost all of them, yeah. We almost never see round sticks like this in but I think also, yeah, this one is also from west Hardanger, or a little bit north. And I've seen willow and hazel and juniper and birch roots in the weaving, and a lot of different kinds of roots. Also a lot of pine. The big one, this is pine, both in the weaving and the wood. Only the frame is willow. Disse her er fra Telemark.
Ja, men det er jo den typiske Telemark. Det ligger jo
No,
mye ut, og så
yeah.
har antall.
A lot of the ones from Telemark and mid Norway is much more. They have a lot more angle. Yeah. But the knutekål is sort of the basket that doesn't fit into any of the categories that I've sort of found. But it's so special, and it's often used for special occasions like parties and things like this. along with these ones, the coiling with the birch roots. I just saw all of them. Yeah. So this is the coiling technique. The basket is somewhere. Oh yeah, okay, went back. So I guess you maybe all know about the difference between coiling and weaving. Yeah. You can really see it in this picture, the beginning here. This is actually a big sieve. Do you say that? See here. Yeah, sieve. It's really beautiful, made with one big circle of wood. Like the birch bark things you have there, same technique. You bend wood and then you lock it with birch roots or some kind. You weave it and sew it in some kind of way, and then this is made in the middle with birch roots. So this is more like a working tool, but the other ones, they are beautiful baskets made for showing off on the food tables and big parties. That was sort of, and they were the jewelry of the baskets because they were inherited from mother to daughter after, yeah, used for parties and nice things. And it was really yeah, everyone wanted to show the nicest basket, so it really made an effort to make a really nice basket. So this is my teacher in birch root coiling. She has been doing this for maybe 30, 40 years. And I went into this mostly to learn how to harvest the roots, because I was interested in the split and the frame baskets made with birch roots. But this coiling technique is such an interesting thing also, so I can't really not do that or not try to learn that also. A little bit of the different materials. You just have to ask if there's anything, right? Just shout out. So there's willow, different varieties. I find it difficult to talk about willow in English because in Norwegian we have 3 different types of willow. We differ with willow, like the varieties that are used and grown for basket making, and then we have the wild willow, and then we have the wilder willow. I don't know how to say that. It's not so easy to explain with only one word, but we differ it. And some are really small, like bushes, and some are really tall. And the ones that are bushes in my area is maybe 3, 4, 5 meters in the mountain areas. So it's really 500 different varieties. I have this thick book, so there's really a lot of it, and used in all kinds of ways. And the hazel and the juniper, bird cherry, I didn't mention that so much. I don't know if you have that here.
No,
No?
we don't.
It's in our area that's mostly used for bending, a little bit also for splitting, but it's really nice to bend. It has, it's easier to bend than the willow without having kinks. So it's the most common for handles and things like that. And birch, it's the wonderful thing. You can use the bark and the twigs and the roots and the wood and everything. And pine and the European spruce, which it's both roots and twigs and the small trees that are used. The small trees are usually the ones that sit inside the forest, that are really don't have enough light, and they stretch very much, and they are really, really slowly grown and very thin, but very strong for making hoops and baskets. It's especially maybe in Sweden more than in Norway they make these kind of baskets. There's a little bit different ways of splitting. We were talking about that a little bit when eating. Usually we don't see that much the splitting technique as we do in Willow with the, what did we call it? Cleave.
Yeah.
We don't see a lot of splitting in with the cleaver, and in that way it's usually half and half. So one of the traditional techniques is to split in half and then take away the pith and split that half in half, and then in half and half and half, as much as you can. And that is the technique that goes especially for juniper. It doesn't. The juniper cannot be split with this tool that we will be using on this course. It has to be split in half. But it's really quite, I don't know if you can say easy, but it's quite nice, splittable, the juniper in that way. And then we have the sort of the pulling of the fibers from the outside. You bend the stick and you loosen the ear growth. That's what we will do in this course. And that you can find in, I think, most of Europe. You see it in Spain, Portugal, and you see it in Germany, and Switzerland, and Italy, and Hungary, and yeah, I think all of Europe. And there's plenty of different ways. You've seen them use a tree, a trunk of a tree. You just put your sticks in between there, or ladder, or yeah, there's so many ways of doing this. But we learn to make this kind of thing, which is nice when you're doing it a lot and you save your back, you have a good working position. You do it from above, but you can really make quite a lot of material from one stick with this technique, because you go make strips from the outside, and maybe 6, 7, 8 strips around the stick, and then maybe one round more if you're lucky, if it's a good one. And maybe you can split all of these strands in two, then you can get quite a lot of material from one stick. So these are the sticks that we are looking for, a little bit thicker than the ones I'm holding there maybe, but yeah, we will see tomorrow. And then we have the pine, which has a totally different thing, because these are big trees and maybe 200 years old, straight grown, not twisted, without twigs. And these are these baskets. You've been holding them for a long time.
Yeah.
So these baskets are made with pine, and we only use the outer part of the pine, this wood, the inner part is the one that all the carpenters want, because it's very strong and it doesn't take the bugs and all these things. But the outer wood is very flexible, so this is what we want for baskets. And these two baskets are made with same material, just different techniques. This one is made with shavings from a machine, and you can feel it's quite soft and not so, it can't take that much. But this is split by hand. It's a bit thicker, it's several earrings, but it's from the same technique, and it's really strong. You can really lean on this one, and you can stand on this one. It's made with the same technique, splitting by hand, and you split in this way. Let's see if I can try to explain. When you split by hand, you split along the ear growth, and when you shave with a machine, you put the planer here, so you go this way, and the earrings go like that. So it's just different, same material but different technique. But these are the strongest baskets. You can really, I've repaired 150-year-old baskets like this, and they are so strong. They can take anything. It's one of the most amazing materials. But it's the how do you say, we always go looking for this material because it's not so easy to find a 200-year-old pine which is straight grown and not twisted. And so we are testing with we make a hole into the pith and take out a little very thin sample so we see how tight it is grown. That's a really nice way of seeing if it's worth cutting. And then we make a little hole in the bark and pull out some fibers to see if its growth is straight or twisted. And you have to have a little bit, and you can see really, sometimes you can also see in the bark if it's grown, twisted or not, but yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, design.
How close do you like the growth rings, like per centimeter?
Yeah, you can see on this one. This is good. You can really see the growth rings.
Maybe
even tighter for this type of basket, because when you are bending this, you want to have several growth rings in one piece, even if it's that thin.
Right.
You want at least 2 or 3 of the winter rings, the dark rings, because that's the ones that they are bendable. The light ones that comes in the spring, they just break. And for this one, you can also see that these are the dark rings, and on the inside they are a bit lighter, but he will shave off. It's one ring, so this is one winter ring, and on the inside there's a little bit of summer growth, but he will shave off most of it. So it's quite a lot of work. Actually, this piece we cut a tree quite far off from the road, and we split it there and carried the pieces out, left the rest of the tree, and dragged it down to the road, and then got it with a car. And when we had put it in water close to where Samson is living, and then after a couple of weeks we came back and it was all gone. Somebody had stolen it. It was really a crazy story, because then Samson was asking on Facebook, does anyone know about these logs? I had 12 of them in the water and they are now gone. And the local newspaper made a big thing. And all of a sudden they were just there with all the ropes and everything put nicely back. So somebody got really bad conscience, but yeah, and then nobody ever told us who it was. It was probably too embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah, Samson said that in the newspaper that anyone that comes with those materials, they will get a basket as a prize, because we really want those materials. Nobody claimed the basket. So, yeah. But it made quite a good story. And we've made some nice baskets from this material. Here are some old varieties of these baskets. Really a lot of beautiful baskets made of this material. Some really rough ones and some really nice ones. And this is the technique that we learned from Björn Marais in Sweden, because in Norway there's nobody doing this technique anymore. Nobody that we have managed to find, at least. And here you see Jan, and this is the pine worker. And this guy is actually the teacher of Samson, the basket teacher of Samson. And he is amazingly older than both of these guys. He's more than 90 years old, 91 years old now. This was 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago. And he's dark here. It's crazy. And the other guy is Jon Godal, which was in another picture earlier. He's one of the persons that actually started the Nordic Craft Institute and has been doing a lot of writing a lot of books and doing a lot of research in traditional arts. Very knowledgeable guy. Then there are some other materials that I didn't really mention, but I want to mention because there's things made of these materials also when we are using them, like the lion bast. It's traditional making rope, at least from the Viking age. I think you have it here also. A lot of use of the lion bast.
Basswood.
Basswood.
Basswood is the original.
Okay.
Yeah. We go basswood now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We call it lint. Yeah. And there's a lot of rope made with these things. We did one project, and in one little place in Norway they make these kind of things, a little bit wider, woven with the same thing as you make the rope from. But they were made for backpacks, not like a backpack, but just a wooden bent wood piece where you attach things that you have to carry. So you sort of tie things onto a bent wood frame, and they were using these straps for carrying, which is genius. They made it with this big weave that is normal for this. It's a wooden frame with holes and how to explain that? I have no idea what it's called.
A rigid headloom.
Headloom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a really rough one.
Right.
Yeah. Made for this material. And we've only seen that one place in Norway. I don't know if there's a tradition for that different places, but one place they did it a lot. And there's a really nice movie in YouTube actually with the grandfather of the guy that we learned from. A still movie from the 40s making this, weaving this linden bast. And then there's a tradition with rush, especially making shoes. It's normal in the only part of Norway where it's still alive is southwestern Norway, but probably has been used in different places. There's rush in many places, so they probably used it. So that was it for the materials, and I just shortly want to mention that we have a quite a newly started Norwegian basket organization. This nice gang here, part of it, and we have got some funding, and we do have an exhibition, which is partly the outcome of my research over the 3 years, making a lot of different baskets. So the Norwegian Craft Institute gave that to the Norwegian Basket Organization, so we can promote and put that exhibition around. Right now it's waiting for the next exhibit place, so but it will come in close to Oslo in Drammen next year. Yeah, we can move it to
Yeah.
also, if you want a Norwegian
Find a
basket.
place, find a place.
Yeah.
Find a place.
ASI maybe. Yeah.
Is there
Time.
a website for that?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Or that's,
Yeah, that's
We
right.
are on
Yeah.
Facebook
Yeah.
and Instagram, but not so.
That's trying to do it,
Yeah.
And it's
Trying to-
Norwegian basket organization, or basket making organization.
I will have to write that.
Okay.
Yeah, I will write it for you. Norsk kodelag, but it's not so. I'm not so good at spelling in English.
No, no,
I think I
that's
will
okay.
write it.
Mhm.
And in the end, I have a little noisy film with machine making these pine shavings. There you have quite a lot of baskets in short time. But finding the material is still a big job. With Björn Marais, he says that 1 of 1,000 pine trees is good enough for this work. So it's quite a challenge to find the right tree. But this is the second thing that the Norwegian Basket organization is doing. We have got funding to buy this machine in Sweden and starting to make some shavings. And this is a really nice basket to start in school with children making baskets. So we are trying to promote basketry for younger people also. You found it? Wow. Cool. Yeah, that's it for now. Yeah, yeah, det kan jag göra. I have to show you the basket you are making. This. So here's 2 varieties. We made this the last days, and Jared made this in Norway
Last year?
Last year. And you will probably make something middle-sized, something in between. This is a little bit too big for 4 days, and this is a little bit small. So, but we will adjust the size after doing a lot of splitting, because we'll have at least 2 days of splitting before we even start to think about it. So today is Thursday, so Friday, Saturday we'll be splitting, and then Sunday morning we will start weaving. And then we'll do some more splitting, because we always, we have to finish all the base and that makes the uprights, and quite a lot of weavers, so that we at least manage to weave up to here to bend the uprights, and then we can make more material and see how far